Oh, is it? We're going live, aren't we?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, your favourite football fan channel dedicated to Manchester United. We have a very, very special guest on today's show. But before we introduce our guest, Sam is alongside me for the show tonight, co-hosting. Are we excited for this one, Sam? Yeah. It's all going off at the minute. On today's show, we're going to discuss the takeover, Erik ten Hag, the transfer window, and the upcoming games this week. And who better to discuss it with than one of the most credible and reputable journalists, Mr. Jonathan Shrager, who we had on today, and many Manchester United fans will be familiar with, especially in the Twitter space, with some legendary tweets, which I'm sure we're going to get into. But first and foremost, thank you for coming on, Jonathan. It's an absolute pleasure.
No, don't be daft. I'm flattered for that introduction. It's not often that I get called a journalist, to be honest. I think, yeah, I kind of have flirted in the media space, but no. Very kind of you with those words. I appreciate it. I've just remembered. Let me retweet something here because I'm not. Just to make sure if there's anyone wants to, because we're on live, aren't we?
Yeah.
Don't break the fourth wall here. As you can tell, I'm not great with tech, but I will. Here we go. I'm just going to retweet this one now. Right, happy days. If anyone wants to join, lovely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah. So, no, thank you very much.
No problem. Now, please.
Looking forward to chatting.
Please do correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, but for anyone who isn't familiar with yourself, someone who works within journalism media world around Manchester United, specialise in other skill sets as well, PR, digital marketing, branding, etc., which is something Sam will be familiar with because he works in that area as well. But what we wanted to ask you was how did you get to the point you're currently at? Did it start with like a fan love and then grow into that kind of world, or yeah?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, probably like yourselves and many others now in this space online. It's opened things up, hasn't it, in terms of pursuing your passions. Probably 20, 30 years ago when traditional media was about, the obstacles to kind of entry to, the barrier to entry, should I say, was very different. And there'd be a lot more obstacles involved. Nowadays, if you're passionate about something, you've got a unique angle, and you've got your own USPs, and you're passionate and you're dedicated, you can kind of carve your own little niche, can't you? Me personally, I probably built my profile more on boxing and mixed martial arts, which is, I suppose, if I was going to be referred to as a journalist, that's probably where I did more traditional work. The United stuff was a labour of love, if I'm being honest, just kind of like yourselves.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Dale from Stretty News. Don't know if you've ever had any contact with Dale. Yeah. So essentially, Dale, a lad from Ireland, a couple of lads here from Manchester, one who's in the Supporters Trust, Ian, who's a lovely fella as well. We basically just started a YouTube channel, probably around the same time that Full Time Devils were about, but kind of before United Stand. We were probably one of the original ones. And we were just like yourselves, probably a lot less formal, to be honest. There was no fancy B-rolls or anything or advertising.
Oh, we could switch it up. Don't worry about that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, it was probably a lot less, a lot more just raw and organic, and just four lads chatting United, really. And so that's kind of how I got into it. And then I created a little niche of trying to interview ex-players, and then just Twitter, just build your profile over the years you're on there. But yeah, no particular magic recipe. Just love United like yourselves, and like yourselves, just trying to make your own way in this space.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And we've got many questions for you on Manchester United in depth. But thought before we could do that, could do a bit of a fun interactive question. Viewers in the chat get involved as well. I'm not sure if you remember the show, Jonathan, Room 101. You remember it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously we know the concept is basically you can put anything in there, but it was something kind of a pet hate on it. But we want to do a little bit the opposite of that. So something you absolutely adore with Manchester United, what would you put in there?
Something I adore with United.
So it could be anything from a memory to a player to a specific kit, like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I think most people look when they kind of start supporting United during their, say, early teens is when you're probably at your most, because you're just coming into that age, aren't you, where you're more cognizant of everything. But the romance of the game is still very much alive. When you get older and people fixate on money and everything, you can, if you're not careful, become a bit disenchanted. But around that period for me it coincided with United's trajectory of under Fergie. Really, I started going late 80s. But when I was really coming into understanding everything and all the players and everything, we were just about starting to win leagues. So it was like the perfect coincision, really. So any of those kits, 92 to 95, if I had to pick one thing that made me fall in love with football and United, it would probably be the team, the first 11 between 92 and 95, which I could just reel off like that. Schmeichel, Irwin, Parker, Pally, Bruce, Keenance, Giggs, Kanchelskis, Eric, Hughes. That 11 was perfection to me. And I know like subsequent 11s have achieved more, but if I had to put one thing in a room that I loved, it would just be that team sheet.
Yeah. I love that. That was like the start of the dynasty, wasn't it? In fairness, so very nostalgic vibes as well. I'm sure it's like that for yourself, Sam, being kind of born late 80s. Is there anything you? Sorry, go on.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
Was there anything you'd put yourself in there, Sam? Maybe from a similar kind of period in time, or would you go a little bit later, maybe near the Moscow kind of the final and stuff?
I do remember the treble because I think I was about 11. Yeah. So I remember I have a distinct memory of being in Dad's flat. You remember Horn being caught near Salford Shopping Centre? Yeah. I remember being in there and you could see Old Trafford from the flat, like the window. And I remember the treble final with Solskjaer and like absolutely jumping up, hitting the ceiling, annoying the neighbours. I remember that. So that's a memory that'll sort of live for me. And then I just remember my first kit. I remember getting the blue and white stripes with the sharp view cam in the yellow. I remember that. And getting Kanchelskis on the back. I mean, Mum getting absolutely infuriated with it because it was like per letter. It was like money per letter. And she was like, "You sure you don't want Butt? Sure you don't want Giggs? Somebody like that, like short letters? No, want Kanchelskis." And then I think he left United about 3 weeks later. So she was absolutely infuriated. But yeah, I'd love to still have that shirt. That was a nice memory of mine. And the treble, I remember that.
It had all the names etched onto it, didn't it, as well?
Yeah.
I think they claimed at the time, I don't know if this is true, it was like every United player throughout history was like the name. I think like there was like hundreds of names, wasn't there?
Yeah, I remember that.
But obviously they repeated, and I don't know if they got everyone on there, but yeah, I just remember just like looking at all the different names on that. It was a great, like nowadays, I know people get excited about shirts, but there's nothing like that period. They were just so good, the shirts then. They were so imaginative.
We did a watch along for the Brentford game, absolutely horrific game, and I remember seeing that lime green kit for the first time, and I was like, "What is that? Like, what is this horrific piece of trash?" And then we just had the horrible game on top of it. Yeah. So I just associate that kit now with bad memories. It's done.
Did you last the whole 90 minutes on that watch?
Unfortunately, we had to.
Well, it's debatable whether mentally we lasted the full 90 minutes or not. We was visible on camera, but whether we was like, you know what I mean? After 30 minutes, it was atrocious. But I get what you're saying about that lime green kit. I'm not a fan of the past kind of 10 years. I don't think any of the kits have been kind of out there. Obviously, the one behind me here from the final, I'm a massive fan of. But I think the 90s in general, I'm very jealous of that period because I can't really appreciate it as much. I was born in 95. So I kind of look back at it as like, you know, it's not a memory I remember, but obviously I still look at it glowing. I'm going to put something a little bit more recent in there. I'm going to put the Ronaldo free kick against, was it Portsmouth? I think it was. It's like a perfect dart in the top right corner. And it just, like I was in love with Ronaldo basically when he joined with his noodle haircut and his, you know, his whole look that he had going on and skinning people left, right, centre. So that's something I'd put in there. But
David James was in goal.
Yeah. Correct. And he just went,
he watched it going, didn't he? Because that technique, I think that was like, he patented more or less that, where you just ping it.
Yeah, the
like
knuckleball.
Yeah, that one, I know like Rashford does it now, doesn't he? But yeah, he was, that was a famous free kick, that one for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. All great shouts there. Sam, do you want to get the ball rolling with the ownership situation as we dive through the topics?
Yeah, let's do it. I apologise to everybody who's not used to me looking down here. I've got my notes here, so if I'm looking like to the left, that's why. I've got the chat here as well, just in case anyone's got a question. So I apologise.
Stop lying. I know you're watching that Allison.
Yeah. I've got the Liverpool game, man. I've got the Liverpool game. Oh, what? Do the show? Forget it. Yeah. Anyways, so I just wanted to ask about the possible Glazer U-turn. We've seen a bit of sort of news about Elliott hedge fund management. They're coming in and claiming they can help the Glazers sort of cling on to power. I'm just wondering how you see the sales process sort of playing out. Obviously, we've got the Qatari bid that she's getting a lot of press and a lot of news, and the guy is apparently a United fan. He wants to make the club debt free. He wants to do investment in stadium, investment in training ground, the women's team, etc. Wants to give United and bring them back to glory, which annoyed the Glazers apparently because it made them look bad. I don't know why, because I don't know why they thought they're doing a good job, but there you go. Surely there's no way they turn around now and keep the club, is there? Do you think that's a possibility, or do you think this is just taught to drive the price up?
I've always had a little bit of a fear that because this has coincided with us starting to gel and look like some sort of semblance of a football team again, that they might have a U-turn regardless. I've always had this fear, and a lot of it is based on the fact that there's someone told me today there's 7 siblings. I thought there was 6. But I've always had this concern that when there's that many siblings, the likelihood of all of them being on the same page business-wise in terms of some wanting to retain it, some wanting to sell it, has always seemed unlikely to me.
Yeah.
As you know yourself, like there's always going to be differences of opinion, and some that are more keen on retaining it than others. And I've always had that slight concern that if one of them gets the bit between the teeth, they could almost convince the others, especially if they start pointing towards the fact that we're finally looking successful again. That we've sort of, I wouldn't say you can't attribute any of this success to them because they've just stumbled across this formula. As you know yourself, they've bollocksed it up many, many times in recent years. So I won't give them any credit as such, but they've finally stumbled across a formula that seems to be successful. So I wouldn't be massively surprised if there was some sort of U-turn. The only thing that makes me think maybe not is, you're right, it could be a ploy to drive the price up, but I still think if they get an offer of around the 6 that they were quoted to be looking for, they'll probably take it, because at that stage it's such a good offer that it probably outweighs the headaches of retaining the club, having to deal with a load of fans that essentially detest them. And I don't think they've ever been particularly passionate. It strikes me they've never been particularly passionate about United as a project anyway. I mean, you kind of alluded to it before with this PR thing, about the wording of it was offensive to them. I feel like they're that out of touch, not just geographically because they're displaced in terms of like the location and where they're based. They've just always been that out of touch with the fan base and the actual reality of the club, that it wouldn't surprise me if they think it's been a success under them. I've always wondered, like, if you've got 7 siblings and you've got an entity that's worth billions of pounds on the other side of the pond, surely one of them would be invested enough to come and live it. Like, if you owned a multi-billion-pound business and you were running it from the other side of the world, right, and there's 7 of you, surely if you really cared, just even just the aesthetics of it, to show you cared, one of them would be in situ, wouldn't they, in London or Manchester or wherever you want to run it from. But the fact that they've all stayed over there, and it's just the whole optics of it has always been wrong.
Well, they had they put clowns like Ed Woodward in charge instead, didn't they? Like, it was like, oh, he's our man in the chair, and he again knew nothing about football. I'm sure he was very good as a banker and financial. I'm sure he was very good, but as football, knew absolutely nothing and just ballsed up transfers, manager appointments consistently.
And we discussed that. We kind of touched on that yesterday, didn't we, when we were chatting about Woodward? And, you can forget. I mean, essentially, he brokered the deal for them, right? So you can understand a level of loyalty to give him an opportunity to prove if he can do that role. Because obviously he fancied it, he wanted to do it. But when it became abundantly clear after, say, 3 or 4 years that it was never going to work with him as the main man driving things off the pitch, at that stage, they surely had to then delegate that role elsewhere. And that, for me, is one of their biggest failings as our owners. There's been many, including the lack of communication, etc., etc. But one of their biggest failings is that if they're supposedly good business people, how can you leave a man in charge of something that's clearly not adept at that role for so long? Like, even if it was just an experiment that lasted 3 years and we established it wasn't working, fine, we move on. Then people might have given him credit for addressing it. But as it stood, they just let it linger and linger. And we ended up with this mess where we were at the end. But yeah, I hope, like everyone else, I hope it isn't the start of some sort of U-turn. But let's be honest, would you be massively surprised that they've not signed anything saying they have to sell it? So there's no like business obligation to sell it. So anything could happen. Anything's in play.
Well, they was very strategic with it, weren't they? When they announced it in November, they said we're looking at all strategic alternatives, we're going to see what's happening, and they're going to see who's going to come into the fold, how many bids there are, etc. And if there's an absolute slight possibility someone can keep us afloat, like this Elliott hedge fund management, whatever it is, then we'll do it. Because, you know, even if they have to invest in a stadium, etc., whatever it is, they'll stay in there just because they'll make money long term. That's how I feel like it's going to go. But yeah, like you said, hopefully just please don't do a U-turn and just get rid of the club. I actually wanted to ask you, Jonathan, about the potential new ones coming in. What do you believe are the 3 key things the new owners need to address for you personally?
Oh, crikey, what a topic this is. We discussed it yesterday, didn't we? And I actually did another one today. I was just walking the dog and I thought I might as well chat with a few other people about it and see how they're feeling. Because I'm a little bit disillusioned with the whole thing myself as well, in terms of none of these bids seem particularly ideal, do they, on the surface? No. If we're being honest. The Jim Ratcliffe one is vague in some of its terminology. I feel like we need to know more on the specifics of what he's actually proposing. The idea of the majority shareholder, and where does that leave other people in the club? I actually was chatting to a fella from Northern Ireland on the Spaces today. He was actually very knowledgeable about this whole situation, like the business side of it, because he actually educated me on some of the stuff. And he was saying that the majority stakeholder doesn't leave space open for the Glazers. Actually, what it does is it means that they buy all the Glazer shares. So it would eradicate the Glazers from the club completely. The remaining shares would be I can't remember if it's the A or B voting shares that were floated on the stock exchange. But apparently that's the only ones that would remain. So it would actually entail the Glazers not being involved. Whether there's wiggle room on that and they can still negotiate a percentage, you know, from the shares that they're willing to sell. But from what he said, it still does entail them leaving, which is good news. But it was some of the language around fan-centric approach. What does that like? Does that mean they're going to give us £2 pints in the strip for them?
Wi-Fi in the stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, better Wi-Fi. I mean, don't get me wrong. We'd welcome all these things, but if they came out and made a statement like, "We're actually going to give the fans 20% or 25%, and if you are able to buy up that amount of shares, we're willing to do it," so that the fans have some type of actual investment in the club, that would probably go a long way, wouldn't it, in terms of showing that they're not just paying lip service to being fan-centric. They're actually willing to put that on the line. I don't know. I'm a bit sceptical about the whole, you know, we've got 2 lifelong United fans here in the Qatari chap and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I'm not that, like, it's a bit of a romantic notion, local guy, and the idea that he couldn't come to Manchester because it was too far, so he had a season ticket at Chelsea for 3 decades. I mean, either could have probably got a flipping helicopter in half an hour every week if he was that big a red. You're not just, if I lived in London, I wouldn't go, you know what, I'll just go and follow Arsenal for 30 years. I mean, that doesn't, so it's not like to me, that completely dispels this romantic notion that he's a lifelong Red. And similarly with the Qatari chap, maybe he has supported us for decades, but ultimately none of that will matter anyway.
Yeah. What's going to matter is that, isn't it? Essentially, whoever's going to pay the most, like you alluded to before with the Glazers, it's going to be, yeah, it's all right. You offer your bids, that's absolutely fine. Who's got the most money in here? Yeah, you sold. That's the way it's essentially going to go with them.
I would imagine so. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be vetting anything else, are they?
Nah, they don't care. They don't give a toss.
They've never cared. So why would they start now when there's money involved?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It is depressing. It is depressing to think about the sort of ownership and the legacy that the Glazers leave behind. A leaky stadium, rusted from the inside out, a training ground that's not fit for purpose, a women's team that's getting changed in porta cabins in Lee Sports Village. You're not even playing Manchester, you're playing Lee Sports Village. It's just not acceptable. But I want to move on to something a bit more sort of slightly more positive. Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag's probably been the shining light of my life for the last 6-7 months. Like he's been absolutely amazing and transformed this team. I just wanted to ask what you think the potential of this team is underneath him. We've seen he's probably not put a foot wrong in my eyes in the way he's dealt with everything. His player selection, his tactics, the way he's dealt with Ronaldo, the way he's dealt with sort of players who sort of get slightly out of line, like Rashford was late, for example, dropped him, didn't mind what kind of form he dropped. Garnacho at the beginning of the season, actually went right, doesn't get in the team. I just don't know, what do you think from what you've heard or what you've read? Do you think that United can come close to sort of the dynasty that Sir Alex sort of started to build, or do you think that's just a bit hyperbole at the minute and it's a way off before we sort of start to get that sort of feel with Erik?
Wow, there's a couple of ways you can approach that question. I mean, managers nowadays, I can't imagine there'll be many managers from here till the end of time now that'll be around for that period of time. So it's kind of hard to answer it on a dynasty level. But if we actually look at what Erik's done, there'll be plenty of fans that say what he's done in such a short space of time actually surpasses Fergie. If we're gonna equate era to era, what Fergie was able to do in the first 9 months when he came in '86 was no way near as impressive as what Ten Hag has done. I mean, the club wasn't in anywhere. I mean, it was probably at the time a massively underperforming. Well, it was a massively underperforming club in the '80s, but he came in. I suppose the biggest thing Fergie did culturally was around the booze, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of removed a few of the drinkers in the team, and he only kept Robbo on because he was that important. But if you look at the challenges that Ten Hag's had to deal with, you alluded to a few of them there. Not least, probably one of the most famous footballers ever, your pal Ronaldo. He's had to deal with he's had to troubleshoot so many issues, and it's like you said, can't really think of anything he could have done better. Maybe you can point to a couple of substitutions here and there if you're going to really nitpick, but I couldn't remember them off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look.
If you look at the stats, I think we're in first position for goals scored by substitutes, and then first position for goals scored in the last 15 minutes, which just shows the impact he has, tactically changing the game in the last. He realised things are not working, he changes things tactically, brings players on, takes players off, and wins games. So it's I don't even think that you could criticise him on that either.
Don't forget about win percentages as well. After 25 games, 30 games, he's got the highest out of any Manchester United manager in history. So there's something there. He's obviously building something special. It's a little bit early days at the minute, but
from Michael Carrick.
He's what? Sorry.
Oh, Michael Carrick.
Carrick.
Oh yeah.
He's doing a job at Middlesbrough, isn't he? Middlesbrough, he's absolutely
fantastic.
So
yeah, unbelievable.
Definitely got I'd love to have him in the future, Carrick.
Yeah. And obviously, sorry, go on.
No, I'm saying you're absolutely spot on. I mean, stats-wise, everything backs up. Usually, sometimes people point to stats and they can contradict the point you're trying to make. But on this occasion, you're right. The stats bear you know, they bear evidence to what we're saying, that the guy's been nearly flawless. And it's actually, as much as what he's done on the pitch, it's the stuff he's dealt with off it and how he's dealt with it. The Ronaldo situation could have really gone tits up.
Yeah.
The Maguire situation he's dealt with really delicately. The Sancho situation, like all different types of what you call problems potentially or obstacles, and he's just like glided through them as if that. And you never hear him moaning like we've been used to since Fergie. Managers that moan, and they bemoan lack of investment, they bemoan injuries, they bemoan players being prima donnas, and this geezer's got a lot to moan about, and yet you head into games with press conferences and you never feel like there's any stress. It's like he seems to exude a sort of calm, presumably because he knows that's what will benefit the players.
For sure.
A big turning point for me with that was after the Brentford game when he went on a jog with the players and ran with them and showed that leadership. And that was a big risk as well, because the next game that we had was Liverpool. So he's taking a big risk there, and it paid off in that win against Liverpool. I mean, I still watch it back now, like nearly every night, just thinking, oh my, thank God for that victory. Thank God, because it just felt like it released so much pressure off the club.
On that, you remember that preview, Nick, we did like before the game, and we were all just like, we're getting bricked, like we're just getting absolutely tanned. Like this isn't going to be a good game. It's not going to go well, and then it was just complete and utter like jubilation, like absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and that was the game where. Am I right in saying, was that the first game where he kind of essentially dropped Ronaldo and Maguire? So it could have really backfired on him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think Rashford, Sancho, I can't remember who the third one was up top, but I think you might be right in that, yeah.
I'm pretty sure he did. And I remember at the time thinking, on the back of that Brentford, dropping your biggest player and your captain, you know, like you say, factor in the run, all these different things. Had that have gone wrong, that could have really amplified the situation. But actually, what it ended up doing is he made big calls and it vindicated him. And obviously, at that point, all the players are looking at him thinking, he's all right, this fella. You know, like players like us all, they're just like the humans with psychology. And had that have gone wrong, they might have looked at him and thought, this guy's out of his depth.
Yeah.
But thankfully for us, it went right.
Absolutely. Talking of things going right, I'm sure the summer transfer window that's coming up there's going to be quite a lot of spending, obviously within reason, because you've got the new FFP rules, the financial fair play. But what about individual personnel going into the summer? Who would you target as players that we need in the team, or what positions, for example?
I think like most people, we know that we need. A lot of it's based on who we offload as well, isn't it? I suppose I personally think there'll be a few players that may leave that I won't say it's going to surprise you, but I just think maybe certain players who you would presume may stay on as squad players may leave. Because I think, did we talk about it yesterday? It could have been yourself or there was another lad on Spaces. And I was just saying, basically, the problem that I think it was yourself, the certain players like a Fred or McTominay, I think it was, we were talking about it. I think when they come into the club, or obviously come through the ranks like Scott, and they essentially become first team players from the get-go, I think those players struggle then to be deemed a squad player. Whereas in the Fergie days, those players would have just probably, at their level of quality, they would have initially been squad players. So they'd have probably accepted being a squad player next year. But I think you're going to look at like the likes of Scott and Fred, and I think United are probably going to view particularly Scott, if they can get 2025 from like a Newcastle for him, they're going to view it as good business. He'll be happy because he'll view it as he's going to get more first team football. So I think there'll be a few outgoings which will leave us needing a central midfielder, whether that be Sabitzer, who we keep on, Ericsson comes back from injury, to give us plenty of options in there. And a strike. I mean, the obvious one's a striker, isn't it? That's the one everyone. I mean, I personally, and I tweeted this the other day, I wouldn't be surprised if he stays on Weghorst, because I think he'll like him as an option when we're going. If we're competing on all fronts, you know yourself, you need the squad, don't you? Liverpool have just
I was
conceded
just, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I've just,
4-2. Like, it's mental.
I've just seen another absolute howler there. Oh, what is going on? Yeah, 4-2.
No,
4-2. Yeah, they scored before while she was talking. I was like, no, I'll leave it.
Has he made another mistake here, Alisson?
It seemed like I only just caught the last bit of it, and he was on his backside with his legs in the air, so I could only presume something's gone on. Let's have a look. Let's see what happens.
Potential offside, apparently. Might be offside.
Benzema, Vinicius. Oh, no, that can't. It's impossible to be offside. What's offside?
Yeah,
Benzema.
It came off finger, didn't it? The
block from Gomez. Oh, that's horrific. That is horrific.
Oh, they were 2-0 up.
Yeah. 4-2 down.
Those Liverpool fan accounts on TikTok are going to go mental, aren't they? Absolutely mental.
We're the worst team in the world. I can't believe it. Right, oh God.
There's an Irish fella.
We know about him. Yeah.
He gets very carried away on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Oh, that's mega. That right.
Anyways.
Happy days. So Strike. I mean, I think he'll keep Weghorst on. I honestly do. Especially if he adds a few more goals. But we still obviously need another striker, don't we? We can't. Martial, we all know his injury record's not great. But what positions are you thinking, you guys? I mean, it's just the obvious ones, really.
Yeah.
Nick,
myself.
Nick, do you want to mention your favourite player? Because I know you like to every single show get your favourite player in.
De Jong.
Yeah,
you think I'm going to say?
Yeah. Oh, Frankie, you mentioned
Frankie De Jong. I'm absolutely obsessed with the player. I think he'd fit perfectly into Ten Hag's system. Obviously, Ten Hag's a massive fan of him, but I'm starting to concede now that it seems to be going relatively well at Barcelona, top of the league. He loves playing there. Busquets is going to move on in the summer, so I see a potential. We might have missed a boat there, but that would be my dream signing. I'd have Frankie De Jong, probably Victor Osimhen now. It's going to cost a lot of money, and then maybe, I don't know, depending on what happens with outgoings, which I'm sure Sam's going to touch on in a second, I'd get replacements there, maybe Sabitzer or maybe another right back in Frimpong. I'm not sure, but that's what I'd go for, Sam.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, I'd love to see De Jong, but I gave up on De Jong last summer. Me and Nick actually had a bet that whether he'd come or not. And I said, you got to buy me a bottle of whiskey and I'll buy you one if he comes, and if he doesn't, and he didn't end up coming. I'm still waiting. Still waiting for that. You are
still waiting. But we also said we was going to do a shot outside Old Trafford of literally passing the bottle of whiskey over to say Sam's won this bet, and then put it out on Instagram.
We'll do it next summer, maybe. I'd love to see that. But to be honest, I think my dream signings have happened like this summer. Like, we got Casemiro in, who is, I don't know what to say about him anymore. I've run out of superlatives to talk about how good this guy is. Lisandro Martinez, who I know you're going to touch on later, Nick, so I won't take too much out. I think he's been fantastic. We've noticed how important Anthony is to this team. Despite the criticism that he got yanked out of the team, and now people are noticing the hole that he's left because Sancho wasn't quite ready. So I think he's done. Eriksen as well has been absolutely fantastic. Free transfer, like, I think he's done really well. So I'm really interested to see what he does in the summer. I don't think he goes for the obvious Harry Kane, 100-odd million or like stuff like that. I think he's more sort of nous about it. I think he's going to find some people that we don't really know much about, and he's going to turn them into absolutely fantastic players. But we'll see what happens. I just wanted to talk. You touched on outgoings. I just wanted to sort of, that was going to be my next sort of point. We've been historically really bad at selling players. Like, we have not been good at it for a long time. I think the only two I can think of that we got any sort of money for was Lukaku and Dan James. I think we made a profit on to is it Leeds if we sold him to?
Yeah.
They're the only two players I could think we made a profit on. We've still got players at the club who I cannot believe are still there. Like Phil Jones, no idea how he's still at this club. Really don't understand it. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he's really nice. If you've interviewed him, I'm sure you could probably tell him the same. But I just don't understand why he's still at the club. Don't get it. And then there's probably a few others in the squad as well that you could probably trim. Like Harry Maguire, I hope he goes this summer because it just doesn't look good for him. I just wanted to ask, like, if you touched on people before, who do you see leaving? Do you think United could turn it around with this new regime that might be coming in, and possibly with Murta and Arnold? Do you think they'll be able to make some money from these players, or do you think it's going to be another one of like struggling to sell these players and then they end up in the squad again next season?
No, I definitely think the efficiency, I think, will improve in terms of outgoings as well. And it's like we discussed. We discussed it yesterday. I always describe it as a virtuous circle, and when things are going well on the pitch, and things are seemingly a lot smoother off it, you're going to get players at a better price, and you're probably going to sell them at a better price as well, because there's value in the players, hopefully, that are outgoing, and the players are looking at the club thinking, I'm desperate to be part of this. And that's why I wouldn't completely give up on De Jong, because especially if we beat
don't do that. Don't do that, Jonathan. Don't.
It's happening. It's happening.
So if he comes this summer, what are you doing? Double or quits with a whiskey?
Oh yeah. I'm
having
doing
that now.
1 litre bottle of Jack Daniels being passed over to me outside Old Trafford. That's what's going on.
Jack Daniels is the opposite of the initials of De Jong as well. I don't know, I've just thought.
This is what you're here for.
This is like the the number 23, that film with Jim Carrey, where they're just connecting stuff that doesn't exist, and they're making it into. This is what's happening here. I can't believe he's on your side. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. No, well, the reason is, honestly, I spoke to people throughout that whole saga last summer, and I probably could have saved you the bet. I could probably have saved you having to buy a bottle of whiskey, because at no point did I ever think it was either A, close, or B, going to happen. It just from what I gathered and all the other noises coming out of it, I just couldn't see it. But I do think he's definitely got a good relationship with him, and I do think there's an ongoing dialogue there. And I think, honestly, the key could be, as ridiculous as it sounds, if we beat Barca on Thursday, like make a bit of a statement, and then do pretty well towards the end of the season, obviously get Champions League football, that's a big thing, but maybe win a trophy and a statement win against Barca. And he could think, you know what, if they finally pay up my wages, I might fancy it with Ten Hag. I don't know, I wouldn't completely give up on that. Maybe if not even this summer, the summer after, but I've got a feeling he will end up at Old Trafford at some point.
It's going to go on for years, it's just fun.
Yeah.
This is like, do you remember, I don't know if you remember Wesley Sneijder, do you remember that? Like every year we were like, Wesley Sneijder. This is what this is going to become now, isn't it? Just every year, De Jong, just, oh, Jesus Christ.
But probably with more basis, because the Schneider thing happened with different. It kind of became a running joke, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was like multiple managers were meant to sign Schneider.
Yeah.
I think if Ten Hag's here, the fact that, and I think I mentioned we talked about it yesterday, but the fact that he was willing to go so all in on trying to get him. I mean, essentially, he left himself a week or something to get Casemiro. I mean, it really went. He more or less got to the stage where it was a 0% chance that we could sign him, didn't he? And I was worried at the time, thinking, taking a big risk waiting this long to make him your marquee signing. But that's why I think it could happen, because
there must have been something there, right, for him to go on that long. Yeah.
Definitely, he must have been communicating with him. But more than that, he must just love the player. He must absolutely love the player to be that keen on waiting that long. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine there's going to be many players we're linked with, many players bought, some outgoings. But I actually want to ask you about the current crop of players, if possible. I saw you tweet on Lisandro Martinez, which instantly got sent to about 20 of my mates. And you mentioned Martinez is like a nightclub bouncer at Old Trafford with his own dress code rule. If you are wearing a shirt that isn't red, he is simply not going to let you come into United's 18-yard box. And it's absolutely true. That resonated with me so much. He's an absolute general in that back line. And I just wanted to ask you about Lisandro, and has he exceeded expectations for you?
100%, definitely. Like we kind of touched on it, didn't we, yesterday? It's just the geezer's he's got such a good football brain, and then if you couple that with his aggression, which game was it the other week? Again, it probably was the game where I tweeted that out, and some people were having a go at me saying, yeah, but we still conceded goals, and I thought, bloody hell, you just can't do anything on Twitter without people being pedantic. But the point was, he made like 3 last-ditch crunching tackles where, you know, those kind of tackles where you can see the other player get up from the tackle, and he's like wincing, like he's not happy, like in the sense that he knows he's been tackled, and it wasn't a dirty tackle, it wasn't a rough tackle. He ball 100%. He gets the man and the ball and lets you know he's there. And the way he read them all as well. And it's like I said to you, he's not the quickest, but he sits off. He doesn't need to be the quickest because he's reading the game. So invariably, he's in the right position anyway.
Yeah.
Make the tackle or interception.
I just wanted to pick you up on that. Like I said to Nick, I fell in love with Lisandro in the Liverpool game. 2 minutes in, and Salah's walking away out of the 18-yard box, and he just bodies him, just puts his shoulder straight into him, and death stares him down the line as he walks away. I was like, I love this guy. This guy is he looks like a potential murderer, but he's absolute fantastic at football. He's fantastic. His passing range is sublime. He's great in the air. And I remember Jamie Carragher's little thing that he's had to walk back now. He's 5'9". He can't do this in the league. Blah blah blah. He's great in aerial duels. His passing's fantastic. He's tackling. He's scored a goal recently as well. Do you know what I mean? The guy's got it all. So I am all aboard the Lisandro Martinez hype train. Sorry, just wanted to get that out because I love the guy.
Well, even the header he scored at Arsenal, it was deft. Do you know what I mean? That involved skill. It wasn't just like most centre halves. Let's be honest. If a ball presents itself to them in the area at the Emirates to equalise, they're probably having a nosebleed, aren't they? Or they're getting that carried away that they're half volleying it into the stands. But even that, he floated the header, didn't he? You just the composure to recognise there's someone on the line, so I need to get it. I need to lift it up over them. And he didn't power the header; he just lifted it over and it was just to have that speed of thought in that position. Just the geezer's just quality, isn't he? Really,
He's 5'2". He's 5'2", by the way.
5'2".
He's 5'2".
Oh wow.
He's not. I thought he was saying. Lisandro's 5'2" for a second. Then I was like, I don't think he is.
That's exactly what I thought.
No, Madrid.
Doing him short of 7 inches.
Yeah.
I was going to say doing him short of 7 inches there. No. He's 5'9".
No, I'm not Jamie Carragher. I'm not obsessed with his height. But he's 5'2" to Madrid, which is insane.
Love it. Get in.
And this is the first leg, right?
Yep.
This is the
away
goal. This is one of the times you want away goals to count, isn't it?
It'd be game over, tie over, isn't it? It's away goals.
It's amazing what's happened there. It just goes to show football's mad, isn't it? Last year, it's just mad. They were different. They're on a different planet to us last year, and now we're on a different planet. It just doesn't make sense, does it?
No. This Liverpool team's got more leaks than our dressing room under Rangnick. It's the defense is absolutely terrible, shocking.
How quickly things change. I don't know. I'm sure there.
Well, it goes to the Ten Hag quote, doesn't it? That when he first came to United, all eras must come to an end, and it's ending.
Why was he right? Wow,
it's ending quickly, and I'm absolutely here for it. So bring it on. Next question. I just wanted to again continue with the current squad. Can't go 5 minutes without talking about Marcus Rashford, can we? Mr. Mentality Monster, absolutely insane form that he's in. I don't like to give this place press, but I feel like I have to talk about it. TalkSport. I don't like it, but it is what it is. Simon Jordan, basically, he said Marcus Rashford is not world class currently. He's in a rich vein of form. Would you agree with that statement, or do you think he is a world class player and he's just showing his sort of true quality in this season under a coach like Ten Hag?
If Marcus if this was his first rich period of form, then you could argue maybe he's got a point because he's only been doing it for say 6-8 months. But we all know that the first 2 years he was on the scene, or 2 or 3 seasons, however long it was, he was quality then, and obviously as a teenager as well. So you always knew he had that potential to kick on and be amazing. And if you look at all the mitigating factors from the 2 seasons where we all know he's underperformed, there's been plenty of them, carrying injuries, multiple managers, just everything going to shit on the pitch anyway, everyone having shit games, which brings your performance level down. Just everything that could probably go wrong for him did. It's just Simon Jordan, isn't it? Obviously they talk United, make a living off talking about United, don't they? Because they know everyone gets giddy and starts replying to them, and Akbon Lahore's the worst.
He's terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah. But he's textbook, isn't it? Simon Jordan, he play? I don't know. Did he ever even play football, or was he a football owner? Does he? Yeah. I don't know if he knows anything about football necessarily, but I mean, Rashford.
Gabby Bonnerhood, like, what is he won anything in his career? Like,
he's just, I'll tell you what it is, Sam. He's just salty. He's salty from that 2011 final when Villa got beat off United. That's all it is. That's all it is. Just still salty from that, and he's just trying to get clickbait quotes out there. I'm telling you now, it's just TalkSport's blueprint, essentially.
It is, yeah. You can't take anything too serious that they say. It is great seeing Marcus perform like this. I'm almost reluctant to get too giddy because we know he's had those seasons. But if he manages to keep it up to the end of this season, if you've done it for a whole season, then you know someone's over a blip, don't you? Mm-hmm. You know, like if they can maintain it a whole season. But yeah, he's the bollocks, isn't he, Rashford? He's manky. He represents what we love about United and football, and that celebration out of interest. Did he come up with that, or was that from someone else?
Well, Neves is claiming it was his, didn't he? Ruben Neves at Wolves. He's claiming it was his celebration.
Yeah, it's all about focus, mentality. That's what I think Rio went to Carrington today and he actually asked Rashford about it. And Rashford said, yeah, it's mentality, focus, because obviously coming back from the season he had last season to be playing how he is now is just worlds apart, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, I thought it must be something to do with, we all probably had our own interpretations, but yeah, it was obvious it was that. But the I didn't know Neves was trying to claim it.
Yeah, he celebrated a goal. I can't remember, it was last week or the week before, and he was doing this, and he was pointing at himself, going, "It's me." Like, he was angry. He was very angry about it. He was very animated about it.
It's my fucking celebration.
But I don't know how much validity he has to that yet, but it is what it is. But everybody around the world's doing it, aren't they? Like, loads of players are doing the celebration now, which is...
Does he have visual proof, Neves, that he was the first to do it? Or did he just do it in training once?
Maybe.
Scratched his hair
yeah.
Oh, he's asking teammates to come out and say that he... Do
you remember that one time when I scratched my head in training?
Yeah,
and he was
it's
like,
mine now. It's mine now.
What's
mine?
Yeah. But look, long may it continue with Marcus, because I think he's got 25 goals in all comps so far. And I think with 34 games into the season, United are ultimately probably going to play about 60, still being in 4 competitions. So you can only imagine what his figures are going to be by the end of the season. So like you said, if he does replicate that for this season, it's almost undoubtedly, right?
Are you a little bit concerned? I've heard it suggested, and I kind of do feel a bit like this. Say if he just goes through a little bit of a spamming, because he's just literally scoring every game, isn't he?
Yeah.
But there is a slight concern, isn't there? Like if his goals dry up a tiny bit, we've just got to hope other people step up at that point.
Mm. And speaking of other people stepping up, sorry, I really wanted to ask you about Weghorst, because another famous tweet that's gone out. He said Weghorst is a good player, cerebral with his first time into play, good technique, rarely misplaces a pass, efficient and economical with his touches, but I'm not sure United can regularly use him as a long ball outlet, as that would require him to win an occasional header. He's not great in the air for his height, but I take it you're not surprised he's being utilised as a 10 under Eric?
No, just because if you look at his... I mean, I thought people suggested it was last week's game, wasn't it? Which game was it? When in the second half he moved back a little bit. I can't remember the bloody games now. There's been that many. It
was Barca, wasn't it? Was it the first leg of Barca? I think he switched it and dragged Weghorst back.
I think there was a game before that. Who did we play away in the league? I can't bloody remember. Anyway, there was one game where... Leeds. Maybe Leeds away.
Yeah.
Everyone said, in the second half he became a number 10. I must be honest, the whole time I've been watching him here, most of the work I've seen him do that's been positive is when he's come back, and usually with his back to goal, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Which is probably not the best thing you want to hear when you're a footballer, but he does it so well. You know what I mean? Like holding the ball up and just laying it off first time, things like that. So I've kind of just assumed that's what he's meant to be doing anyway. But yeah, we all know maybe he's limited in certain ways. He's probably not going to score a hatful of goals. But if he can add a few important goals occasionally to his all-round contribution to the team, happy days.
He strikes me as one of them players that everybody else would love, just to offer space. Like, he's obviously a pressing demon. works really hard in the team, and you can see as one of the things I mentioned on the show before we even signed him was like he's going to be that nucleus in the middle who will attract players towards him and open up other passing lanes for your Antonys, for your Rashfords, Garnachos, etc. And it seems to be working because obviously you look at the comparison from when Ronaldo was playing up top, who obviously a lot of people would say is far better than Weghorst, but it complements the team better. I feel like with it, you can see it just from Rashford, his cameos.
Yeah, 100%, and it's. I mean, as much as I like Martial as a footballer in terms of his talent, he is a frustrating player to watch at times. If you contrast the effort levels that Weghorst seemingly puts in to what you often get from Martial when he's not fully on it, it's like chalk and cheese. But if you could combine a little bit of that dynamism that Martial has, like in the box, and the bit of quality with what you get from Weghorst, you probably get a hybrid, and you'd get some absolutely amazing striker. But unfortunately, as you know, you can't start merging players. But yeah, he just offers something a little bit different to, I suppose, what we've got, and therefore that's why I've got a feeling. I just got a funny feeling he'll keep him on, especially if he can get a couple of important goals, and he sees that the squad love him and that they all appreciate what he does. He could certainly be one of the 3 or 4 striking options you've got if you're buying on all fronts. You know what I mean? If we're in all these tournaments or competitions, you need squad. You need people in the squad, don't you? And he strikes me as someone probably doesn't have an ego, probably be happy to play 20, 25 games a year for Man United, as opposed to, no disrespect to Burnley, it's a great club. But I'm guessing he'd rather play 25 games for United than 40 for Burnley or 45 or what.
I agree. I definitely agree. Just before you go, we have got some little questions in the chat, but I just wanted to ask you, big games coming up. Thursday, Barcelona at home at Old Trafford. I'm gutted that I've not managed to get a ticket to this because I would love to go. It'd be a dream game. And then a League Cup final against Newcastle on Sunday. Are you confident in these games going into them? Do you think we can win both of these games, progress through to the Europa League, and win Ten Hag's first trophy?
Yeah, it's getting to that position where you can't. I'm sure you're feeling it as well. There isn't the negativity that we've had in recent seasons. It's just been a weird mindset. Like half the games, you just kind of gone in. I wouldn't say you're resigned to losing, but you always felt like if we were going to win it, it would be more just by chance rather than design. Like whereas under Fergie, so many years, we just kind of arrogantly, in a way, you almost just assumed there were going to be wins. Whereas since Fergie, there's been many years where just a complete lottery, which some people would say that's most football fans' experience, and that's what makes it beautiful. And yes, to a certain degree, I suppose it is exciting in inverted commas, but the way we were playing football and the negativity around the club, it didn't feel fun in the traditional sense of how like a lower league football fan might feel going and not knowing what the result will be. It was just always felt toxic at United. But I'm feeling like every game we can pull something out, because this fella, no matter who he plays, whatever random concoction of 11 he comes up with, I always feel like there's some kind of element of intention there and design, and therefore he knows what he's doing. And again, I suppose it goes back to the calm he exudes. It's like you kind of think nothing he's doing is random. It's all by design, and he's probably got 11s that he's pre-organised weeks in advance, knowing that we're playing twice a week. So yeah, I'm just confident. I think we can win any game we go into at the moment, regardless of opposition. If we perform, we could also get beat. Of course, Barca are a good team, but too flipping right. I'm guessing you guys feel the same.
Yeah, we're proper up for it. I think we showed the new camp that we're capable of beating this team. I think if Weghorst puts his chances away, and Sancho had that opportunity as well, if he put them away, it's 4-2. It's done. Like, it's over.
Not to mention as well, Sam, the Kunde thing as well. Rashford, that's a big moment in the game. That
penalty.
He should have got a red card for, essentially, in my opinion.
Yeah. So there's things there that if it goes your way, that game's over and the tie's over. You go to Old Trafford, you've got to keep a clean sheet and you're through. Newcastle, obviously, with the Nick Pope situation, he's got a red card. Everybody's going, oh, it's cruel. He should be able to play, and it's what it is, isn't it? It's the rules. Like, that's the way it is. Like, you just got to live with it. If that was United, nobody'd be saying that. Nobody'd be saying, oh, David De Gea deserves to play. Wouldn't be happening. So, and then Biscuit wrist Loris Karius is going to be in there, isn't he? Possibly, or Keith Gillespie, who's not played a game for I don't know how many years. So it's one of them two. So, and then Newcastle haven't been scoring a lot last couple of games. They've been struggling to score. So I think we can win that. I think that'd be Ten Hag's first trophy. What do you think, Nick?
I think with Barcelona having big players out like Gavi, Pedri, I think Sergio Busquets might be out. I don't know if he's back or not.
Dembele.
But they've got Dembele as well, of course. They're missing big players. I think the atmosphere at Old Trafford on Thursday is going to be absolutely electric. Honestly, I think that in itself, you'll see the Stretford end pulling goals towards him in that essence. And I think we might actually surprise Barcelona by how good we play on Thursday. So Barcelona, I'm super positive about that. And then Sunday, it's a cup final. It's Wembley. It's a little bit different. But I think if we can field your Casemiros, your Lissandros, ultimately we've got better individual quality in that team, and we will win first trophy in the Ten Hag. Do you think, Jonathan, first trophy?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely I'm feeling positive. I think unfortunately since Fergie, I've become a lot more of a realistic Red than ever before. I always used to be positive, like really optimistic, and now whenever things seem to be going right, I always get this like sense of potential looming dread, and I think that'll be with me until we have a couple of good seasons under Ten Hag, where I always think it's all going a bit too swimmingly. This
PTSD.
It's something, there's some sort of residual anxiety I'm feeling with United nowadays. I can never fully enjoy things. You're even
it's because it's the semi-finals that we've lost and stuff under Ollie, like continuously. It's hard to hope when you've just been knocked back so many times.
100%. Yeah, there's definitely some level of like emotional preservation going on. Like I'm like trying to always be zen and not allow myself to be happy or excited or like even with Rashford, I'm like buzzing off him, but at the same time I can't go online and start saying, "Oh, he's the best player in the world." I think he might just stop scoring them for a month, and then do you know what I mean? We're back to like everyone having a go at him. But it's hard not to be positive as a United fan nowadays. And the Karius thing, he could just have one of those legendary
He'll have a
games.
worldie. He will have a worldie.
That's what you said, didn't it, Sam?
I was like, this is going to happen. This is literally going to happen. I'm like, oh.
That's the danger in it. But no, we've got to definitely be optimistic heading into it. And if we beat Barca, you've got to think they'll be flying on the. They'll be swimming to Wembley, won't they?
Yeah.
Cool. Should we get into some quick fire questions in the chat, and then we'll let Jonathan go, because I think we've taken up enough of his time.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's go. Let's have a look. There we go. Question for Shrager. What do you think of the appointment of Director of Football and the increase of season ticket pricing when the club is seemingly going through a sale?
Yeah, weird timing that, wasn't it? Was there a deadline by which they had to make an announcement on ticket prices? It just seemed like a very strange time to start talking about that.
It's just out of the blue, I think. I didn't expect it, because I thought ownership, if you're going to sell the club, why would you announce that you're raising ticket sales? It's a bit strange.
Very strange. I don't know if they, legally they're obligated to make a declaration about ticket prices, Possibly. Just because by a certain, I don't know, I can only think there was a deadline, because otherwise I just don't know why you'd even bring that up at this time. It just didn't make sense, did it? It was bizarre. What do I think of it? Obviously it's not good, is it? No one wants to have to pay more for the tickets, but they'll probably point to the fact that I think the ticket, they've been frozen for a long time, haven't they?
11 years.
10, 11
years.
Yeah, so I mean that's good, obviously, but I don't know, just the timing of it that struck me as a bit bizarre. I can't remember what was the other thing.
I think you've answered the question, so I think we're all right there. Another question: big redemption for players under Ten Hag. Obviously, we've been talked about Rashford and other players. Do you think Sancho's on that path of redemption as well? Like, obviously, he went away for it felt like forever to Holland and trained, and then he came back to England and he still didn't play him. He was like, oh, he's training, he's not ready yet, and now he's starting to come back in. He's had ups and downs. He seems to be more impactful when he's a substitute. He seems to really come to life when he comes off the bench rather than starting. Do you think he's also like on that sort of path as well? Like players like Luke Shaw, Rashford, Wan-Bissaka as well, which was a shock to me. Like, do you think he's going to be on that same path and Ten Hag will get the best out of him?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the key with Sancho, I think, is just getting his mind right, because I think the football then follows with him. There's no denying Sancho. I mean, I'm not a massive consumer of foreign football. I don't watch even when he was at Dortmund. I can't claim to have watched a lot of him, and I certainly don't watch a lot of England. They just bore the pants off me most of the time, apart from if it's a World Cup or something.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you. I'm the only one on the channel who I can't stand England and Gareth Southgate, and I just get absolute pelters for it every single time. So I appreciate you standing up for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, I think the only reason I really watch England, even in World Cups or the Euros, is because usually it involves being in a pub, and I'm happy to be in a pub usually. So
nice.
I will watch that and have a beer, and that's okay. But yeah, so basically the long and short of it is with Sancho, I've not watched a lot of the geezer before he came to United, but I've seen enough of him at United, and I've seen enough glimpses of him just to know he's a proper footballer. And that if he's played in a system and a team that's thriving, and his mind's right and he's fit, I don't see how it doesn't work. Like, I think he'll be a brilliant asset for us. The way he's dealt with him, again, kind of ties in with what we were talking about before, with how he's dealt with different difficult situations. I read an article earlier, or just a snippet of an article, saying how a lot of the players have appreciated his treatment of Jadon. You know, how I guess how sympathetic he's been towards it, and how he's tried to help him probably on a human level as much as a football level. Because as we know, a lot of these young lads, we just look at them and think, oh, just perform like a performing seal or what have you. But they're human beings; they're not robots, are they? And he's a young lad who's come with a lot of pressure, a big price tag, and it's pressure, and not everyone's going to deal with that the same. So the fact that he's taken him out of the limelight, I would imagine he was involved in facilitating that training camp, because it happened in Holland, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it's obviously happened with his instruction. The way he's dealt with it in the press, by kind of deflecting away from it to kind of almost take the limelight away from him as much as possible. And now he's just sort of slowly drip feeding him back into the team. If it comes off and he starts scoring, being a really important part of the team, it's just yet another example of his just brilliant management. So, yeah, I do think he can be a really valuable asset. And maybe we won't see the best of him this year, because he's essentially started it halfway through.
Yeah.
But certainly by next season, he gets a full pre-season under his belt. He's used to the system this year. We should see him really excel next year.
I can't wait. I think with a lot of the questions we've already covered, so I'm just going to look for if you could pick one striker to solve United's striking problem in this summer, who would you go for?
Probably ask you lads this. The two obvious names that are floating around most repeatedly are obviously Kane and Osimhen, aren't they?
Yeah.
I like the idea of either. To be honest, I can see the pluses and negatives for both. I don't think I would be particularly upset if we got one over the other, because I'd say, well, Harry Kane's proven it over a number of seasons. We may only get 2 or 3 years out of him, but you pretty much know if he stays injury free, we're going to get 25 goals a year out of him for 3 seasons, maybe.
Yeah.
Osimhen is doing it in Italy, not a stronger league, but looks a proper player. Dynamic, playing with other good players for a big club, so obviously can handle pressure. So but obviously younger, so we get a lot more out of him potentially, a lot more seasons. So I'd be happy with either. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh bloody hell, I wanted Osimhen and not Kane, or vice versa.
Yeah.
I couldn't give a shit. Get either of them, put them in that team, and they'll just score for fun. I think.
Love that.
Agreed. And then just one little thing, I just thought I wanted to put that on screen. From Aaron, shout out to Shrager's tweet regarding Steve McLaren. Had his ups and downs, hasn't always been given his flowers, but wouldn't overlook how important he is to United setup. So yeah, shout out for your.
100%. No, I mentioned that the other day because I kind of feel like, which is good, because in all the best seasons with Fergie, like people would always reference assistants or coaches and stuff, but they were they weren't talking points. They just went about the business. You know what I mean? They were just, and I feel like with Van der Gag, who's another one who obviously is like really important to Eric. But what's impressed me the most with McLaren is the fact that, and I kind of alluded to this in the tweet, it's the lack of ego. It's the fact that he was his assistant when he won that league at 20. And now it's a complete role reversal. And I'm not sure that all characters could deal with that. Like if you're, obviously most managers, I imagine, have some element of ego. Just because I presume to lead a group of young players, you kind of have to, a little bit. And I would imagine the fact that McLaren's been able to completely relinquish his, to then go in and become an assistant. So it's like that role reversal. That, to be honest, that has impressed me more than anything. And the fact that it's been so seamless, and he's obviously delighted for Ten Hag. There seems to be no element of resentment there or anything like that, even though he's the more senior man. And I just feel like probably something that's not discussed a lot, but just think he's probably been a real integral part of it. And obviously the experience he's had at the club, and the fact that there's that synergy with him having managed in Holland as well, and and he's come back to a very different club, McLaren. It probably was hard for him to come back to a club where the one he left was expected to win everything. This one, he's having to reinstill that ethos. So there's just many reasons why I think his job is noteworthy.
Yeah, a lot of people. Thank you for your time as well, Jonathan. A lot of people really happy to see you. There's a lot of welcome to Real Reds in the chat, and a lot of can't wait for this. So people were excited to sort of hear what you had to say. Nick, do you want to sort of wrap it up?
No, likewise. I replicate what everybody else is saying. And there's obviously going to be a lot of games this week. Well, not a lot of games, but two important games, should I say. Barcelona on Thursday. You've got the Carabao Cup final, which we've already touched on. And lots of things going on with the ownership. I'm sure you might be a busy bee yourself, Jonathan. So where can people find you on social media? Do you have anything coming up, etc.?
Yeah, just to be honest, this is very much like anything I do in football related or media nowadays. Certainly since the pandemic, when I wasn't able to travel to go to boxing or MMA events, I sort of work on other stuff now. So this is mainly a bit of a just hobby for me, really. Like yourselves, I guess, until hopefully you guys can move on and make this your full-time jobs. I hope that's the aim.
That'd be good.
But yeah, I've just been doing a couple of those spaces a week on Twitter, and any Reds around the world, get on, express your opinions. I'm always happy to chat anything United related. And I just like that format on spaces. It's just easy when I'm walking the dog. It's just like a live broadcast, isn't it? So it's a doddle. So yeah, Jonathan Shrager. Traditional Jonathan spelling and Shrager, all that nonsense. Find me on there and come on a spaces and have a chat about United.
I've put the link in the description, so if anybody wants to follow Jonathan, just click the link in the description. It'll take you straight there. But well worth doing.
Perfect. So that's two great things tonight. Liverpool have lost 5-2, and we've had a fantastic chat about Manchester United. So it's been a perfect night for myself. Thank you for coming on again, Jonathan. Really appreciate you taking time out of your day, and we'd love to have you on again at some point.
100%. Give us a nudge, and I'll pop back on.
Awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
Do you want to just read out the socials, Nick, just before we go? Just people know what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash a like on the video, and follow us on all socials. I would say TikTok, but for some bizarre reason, TikTok's decided to ban us and not let us know why. So you can't follow us on that at the minute. But Instagram, Twitter, what was that? Sorry.
No, I was saying TikTok's banned you.
Yeah, we just had a random notification. I have no idea why.
Don't know.
It's not told us. It's just shut the account off. So we're going to get that back on eventually. But yeah, just follow us on socials, Real Reds Talk. You know where we're at, and subscribe to the channel, please. Sam, again, thank you to yourself as well.
No worries.
Been a wonderful chat.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of people in chat absolutely loving it. So yeah, really appreciate you coming on. One last question, quick one for Jonathan. Who wins, John Jones or Cyril Gagne?
Who is it? Is that who's
that from? It's Aaron. So Aaron is he's on the channel. He's part of the channel. Right. He comes on.
He loves MMA.
But he absolutely big fan of MMA.
MMA. I thought it might have been a pal of mine, an Irish red who covers MMA as well. In a word, I think Gan's going to win it. You know, I think Gan's going to beat John Jones. Big call. But there's a lot of unknowns with John Jones. I've not seen it for a while. Heavyweight.
Long layoff.
Yeah, long layoff. Yeah, but then I could be horribly wrong. It's one of those. MMA is horrible to predict.
Yeah.
It's the worst to bet on. Like I stopped betting on MMA because it's not worth it anymore. It just goes wrong every time. So
yeah,
I'll just enjoy the fights.
But one thing you can predict is Liverpool melting. So love it, absolutely love it. Subscribe to the channel, guys.
Gerard's here. I can't wait. Gerard now.
Look at his face. Fucking love that. Right.
Rio's pretending to be upset.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. Hard luck.
Right. We're going to end the show, guys. End it there. Thank you very much again, Jonathan. And thank you, everyone, for watching, tuning in, getting your questions in. We'll see you tomorrow for the Barcelona preview. Make sure you tune in at 7 o'clock. And yeah, hopefully we'll see Jonathan again at some point.
Definitely.
See you guys later.
Peace.